Welcome to CINEPRO, where we bring your favorite movies back to life with quick recaps, hidden details, and everything you missed. The movie Revenge starts with a businessman named Richard, who is traveling to a mountainous area in the middle of the desert to spend a couple of nice days. He hides from his wife that he is traveling with his fiancée, making her think he is just going away for 2 days. He takes his fiancée, Jenny, with him, and they travel by his helicopter. They arrive at the villa together, and it's clear that they love each other very much, spending their first night together happily. The next day, Jenny wakes up and leaves Richard sleeping, going downstairs to look for something to eat. Since the house is all glass windows and you can see outside, Jenny is surprised by 2 men standing outside the house holding weapons. She gets scared and quickly calls Richard to come see them. Richard comes down quickly, but he knows them. They are his friends, and he had arranged for them to come hunting, but they arrived a day early. He goes out to them, annoyed, and argues with them because he hadn't planned for them to arrive early and wanted to spend 2 nice nights with his fiancée. But he introduces them to her and they continue their evening together. One of the guys is young, named Stan, and it's clear from his face that he is attracted to Jenny, looking at her in a strange way, which makes her notice and fear him a little, but she feels somewhat reassured because Richard is with her. The other guy, Dimitri, is clearly into eating and drinking and doesn't care about much else. At night, they all party together, drinking and dancing, to the point that they even brought some illegal substances. Jenny keeps dancing with all of them, but Richard leaves her and she continues dancing with Stan, who focuses on her. But Dimitri sits there with binoculars, focusing on Jenny's details, which excite him a lot. Suddenly, while looking at her, he finds a strange bag on the table. He's surprised because it's the first time he's seen a bag like that, so he asks Richard about it, who tells him it's a new type, much stronger than regular drugs, because it causes hallucinations and makes a person unaware of what they're doing. He says no one should take it while holding a weapon, as they could kill someone without realizing it. Then Richard asks Jenny to hide it completely from them so no one accidentally takes it. Jenny takes it, hides it in her necklace, and puts it around her neck, then goes back to enjoy the evening with them until they all drink and want to sleep, not aware of themselves. The next day, Jenny wakes up but is surprised Richard isn't beside her. She thinks he went to hang out with his friends, so she gets up and goes to look for him, but finds Stan sitting in front of her. She asks him about Richard and he tells her he went to finish the paperwork for the hunting trip they'll go on tomorrow. When she asks about Dimitri, he tells her he's been sleeping since yesterday because he drank a lot and can't get up. She finds him sleeping by the swimming pool, completely out of it. She sits with Stan, who is preparing breakfast, but his looks toward her start to change and he looks at her strangely, making her afraid and worried. She decides to leave and tells him she's going to change her clothes, but he realizes she's avoiding him and follows her, trying to get close. He asks her why she's avoiding him, and she tells him it's because she loves Richard and they're going to get married. She asks for his help, but Dimitri ignores her and goes to sit in front of the TV. Stan starts to assault her amid her screams, but he ends up raping her and leaves her. When Richard returns, he senses something has happened from the way Stan and Dimitri are sitting quietly together. He goes into the room and finds Jenny in a bad state, crying on the bed. He asks her what happened and she tells him everything, begging him to leave the place quickly. This makes him upset and angry, and he goes out to yell at Stan, but not because he raped her. He yells at him to be careful not to expose them. Then he goes back and offers Jenny a check with a lot of money, telling her he'll hire her at his company if she keeps quiet and tells no one. She gets angry at him, insults him, and threatens to tell his wife everything that happened between them. But Richard's tone changes. He gets angry at her, threatens to kill her, and hits her, saying he'll kill her if she tells anyone. But she manages to escape from him and runs into the desert. He chases after her, which makes Stan and Dimitri see them running and they also chase after her. Jenny reaches a high plateau, stands on it, and threatens to kill herself if they come any closer. Richard tries to calm her down, pretends to call his helicopter to come pick her up, which calms Jenny down until Richard approaches and pushes her off the mountain. She falls, landing on a dry tree branch that pierces her side. Stan asks why he did that, saying she could have kept quiet and not said anything. But Richard tells his friends he had to do it or else they'd all go to jail for rape, and it's all because of what Stan did. He says they have to hide everything so they don't get exposed. His friends look scared something might happen to them, so they decide to go back to the villa and get rid of everything related to her so there's no evidence if the police come and search. The 3 go to the house, and Richard gathers all Jenny's things and burns them. After they finish getting rid of everything, they start preparing for the hunting trip as if nothing happened, getting their weapons, cars, and everything they need ready. Meanwhile, Jenny is still alive but bleeding heavily and unable to move. She gathers her strength and searches her pocket, finding a lighter. She takes it out and tries to set the dry tree on fire so it burns and breaks. When the tree burns, it breaks, and Jenny falls to the ground, but the tree branch is still in her side. Jenny tries to hide somewhere, crawling until she reaches between some rocks and hides in case Richard and his friends come back and see her. Suddenly she hears a car coming toward her from the top of the mountain, making her move faster to hide. When Richard and his friends reach the place where she fell, they look from the top of the mountain, but can't find her anywhere. They find the tree burned and realize she escaped and is still alive, so they decide to search for her. He doesn't approach anyone or report them. He's scared and prefers to argue with Richard, fearing that she'll escape and report them. But Richard gets angry with him and tells him he won't risk his life. All this time, Jenny has been listening to their conversation and is very upset. She realizes they're going to come after her, so they start searching for her. They see traces of her blood on the ground, which makes them follow her trail to find her. Eventually, they reach a large lake and decide to split into 3 groups to search around it. But Stan is scared and goes to sit in the car. Richard gets in his car and drives off in one direction, while Dmitri takes the quad bike and goes in the other direction, all of them armed. While Dmitri is searching the water with a flashlight, Jenny is hiding and submerges herself underwater. When she sees him approaching, she stays under until he moves away. Once Jenny is sure Dmitri has moved away, she comes out of the water and discovers he left his weapon at the spot where he was standing. He is distracted. She decides to take his weapon and use it for revenge. She follows Dmitri, aiming to kill him, and threatens him with the weapon, telling him to raise his hands and move away. But since she has no experience using guns, she doesn't realize the safety is on. Dmitri notices the gun is on safety, laughs at her, attacks her, and pushes her into the water. He calls his friends, telling them he caught her and tries to drown her in the lake. Jenny keeps defending herself until she manages to grab a knife from his side, stabs him in the eye, then pulls it out and stabs him again, killing him. She leaves him in the lake, takes his weapon, and leaves. She also takes his belongings and the quad bike he was riding, running through the desert for a long distance until the fuel runs out, leaving her alone in the middle of nowhere. She feels relieved that she's gotten far away from the others and looks around for shelter. Finding an abandoned cave, she enters, tries to rest, lights a fire and searches through Dmitri's things, finding food and water. She remembers her necklace, which she had hidden drugs in that numb the body and cause sedation. She decides to take some to numb her whole body and pulls the tree branch out of her side. After taking the drugs, she feels numb and begins to remove the branch from her side. She cauterizes her wound with fire using things from the bag, cuts a glass bottle, heats it, and puts it on the wound. The pain shocks her, and she faints from the pain. Meanwhile, an animal is found drowned in its blood, and Stan is very scared, but he finds out Richard was the one who threw it at him and tells him to focus, because he's distracted by his animals. Richard is on his way. Later he asks Stan about Dmitri. Stan says he hasn't moved from his spot all night until he fell asleep. They realize Dmitri hasn't returned since last night, so they think he's probably drinking somewhere and fell asleep. Stan gets out of the car to wash his face in the lake, but is shocked when he sees Dmitri's body in front of him. He runs to the car, terrified, but since Richard is a bit braver, he keeps looking at the body, which is very swollen and clearly dead since last night. They realize Jenny is still alive and must have killed Dmitri. They decide to tie his body to rocks and throw it in the lake so it'll sink and be eaten by fish, and no one will find it. Richard beats Stan violently and keeps blaming him for everything that's happened to them. They get in their car and drive off to look for Jenny. Jenny, alone and feeling better, regains her strength, takes the weapon, and goes back to take revenge on those who did this to her. She stands at the top of the mountain and uses binoculars to watch the area. She sees a car coming toward her, and when she looks inside, she sees Stan. The car suddenly stops because it runs out of fuel. He decides to get out and refuel it. Jenny grabs the rifle, wanting to shoot him, but since she's not good at using weapons, she shoots him in the shoulder. She then runs toward him to finish him off, but she can't find him. She follows his blood trail, while he tries to tie his shoulder with his sock to stop the bleeding. He manages to hide from her and tries to shoot her as she walks in front of him, but because his shoulder is injured, he can't aim well, the rifle slips, and the shot only grazes her. Jenny realizes where he is and runs away, but he keeps chasing her. She decides to break her flashlight, so the glass will be on the ground and he'll step on it, unable to keep chasing her. When Stan reaches the glass, he steps on it, and gets a big cut on his foot, so he decides to go back to the car, knowing he can't chase her anymore. When he starts the car and drives, Jenny suddenly appears in front of him and tries to shoot him. This time, the bullet hits his head, killing him. Stan dies inside the moving car, which falls off the mountain, but keeps running. Now Jenny has gotten rid of 2, and only 1 remains. Jenny pulls Stan's body from the car, and takes it to search for Richard. Returning to the villa, Richard is standing in the desert, waiting for Stan, but gets frustrated because he's late and decides to return to his villa, expecting Stan to follow. When he gets to the villa, he calls the helicopter to come pick him up so he won't have to wait for anyone else. He goes inside to change his clothes, and start his journey back to the city. While he's in the bathroom, he hears a sound outside and decides to check it out, holding his rifle. He's shocked to see Jenny is still alive and standing outside the house, aiming the rifle at him through the glass. He tries to escape, but she shoots him, hitting him in the side, causing him to fall and bleed heavily. Jenny comes in to finish him off, but he escapes inside the house. She follows his blood trail to the kitchen, but as she walks, she slips in his blood and falls, losing her weapon. Richard sees that she dropped her weapon and quickly comes out of the kitchen to kill her, beating her, but he's injured and can't do much. Jenny takes advantage of the opportunity, grabs the weapon, and shoots him, killing him. With that, she's finished off all three. Afterwards, she sits inside the house, not knowing if the helicopter will return, but is surprised to see it in front of her, so she decides to board. She goes back to the same city, and that's where our movie ends today. I hope you enjoyed the film, and please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, so you can get all the latest